So using the primary table, we can bring data from item table also using the concept of for all entries. Then we also saw the concept of message classes and joins. Two things we saw, joins and message classes. Message classes are there only to give messages. Message class is there. You will see, you will find out. It's not very difficult, okay? AC91 is the T91 is the T code where you can go and you will be able to easily create your message and you will be able to use them. Now, from today, let's start our very first thing. So, first thing is creating. Oh, sorry, let me start. Our recording is ready. Okay. So, creating a T code for a program. You remember we had created a T code for table, right? We had created a T code for table. What is the transaction code to create a T code?
I see 90 something, if I'm not wrong, I don't know.
Okay, no issue. So we can also create a separate transaction codes for our ABAP programs. We can easily create them, and the transaction code to create a T code is SE93. Okay, SE93 is the section where we can define our transaction code. So let's say I have this program joins which I have shown in the previous session. It's just a different version of for all entries. Both have the same purpose. Both are defined for same purpose. Both have certain limitations and certain benefits. When you will watch this recording, you will be able to easily understand it. Oh, it has been logged out. Let me reopen. So I will go back to my SE38, my program, joins ABAP. This is my program which I have created for displaying my data. Perfect. Same data which I have created to display here. Now, what I want to create a T code for it, right? So I'll go to SE93. SE93 section is for T code creation, right? SE93 section is for T code creation. SE93, maintain transaction. I will give here a name starting with Z. So Z T code for ABAP. Okay, T code for ABAP program. We'll go for create button. T code for our ABAP program. Perfect. Now, which radio button we are going to use? Tell me, Mukul. Think on it and tell me which radio button we should use here.
Is this just the program and selection screen?
Yes, this is for your BAP report. If you are creating a transaction code for your executable program, then you are going to select this radio button, program and selection screen. Perfect. This one is for table. Rest of the thing we will show. We will see in the upcoming time. Then I'll go for OK. Here I will pass my program name. So let's copy the program, bring here, and I will paste it here. Perfect. Always select all the GUI support, or by default it will be selected if you even if you are not selecting. Save it, sign the package, Amrit, and I will select the request. I will select the request. Right, T code created for my ABAP program. T code created for my ABAP program. Now what is going to happen if I am using this T code? What will happen? Tell me.
So this program will be called?
Which section? Will it is going to open this report or will it going to open the selection screen?
The selection screen.
Yes, it will directly open the selection screen. Right? Here you can give your entries. Here you can give your entries and you will be able to get all your data. So this is the beauty of any transaction code. That is why I told you that using the T code you will be able to understand you will be able to see the program that has been written in its behind, right? Go for it. Just go for SE93. Go for any T code, even SE38. Open it in display mode. See here, we have a program. We have a program, right?
Mhm.
For everything, we have got a program. This is a standard program because its name is not starting with Z. Is it? Right?
No. Yeah.
So this is the beauty of this thing. We can easily understand from here. We can easily understand from here. This is how we will be able to create our T code for any ABAP program. Just go for T code AC93 and then we will be able to create it. Now, next thing, second topic, best programming guidelines. Guidelines for ABAP programming. Best programming guidelines for ABAP programming. Tell me some best programming techniques that you have learned till now. Then I will show what else we can write here.
Think writing comments before starting coding, starting to code.
That's a good thing. It will make your code more readable, right? Anybody will be able to understand it. But
Mhm.
is this a good programming technique? Because what is the meaning of writing a program? Why we are writing a program if I can perform anything via screen or I can simply reduce my efforts. The only reason we are writing the program so that we can increase the efficiency, right? We can decrease the time that it is taking to do the same work.
Mhm.
This is the only reason, right? So best programming guidelines simply means you write the code in a manner so that the time it is taking to execute the code will be less and its performance will be high, right?
Mhm.
So first is never ever use star in the select query. Never use it. Why? You remember why we I told you to not use the star in select query?
Yeah, I think that in the table there can be many columns which you don't need during runtime.
Yes, this is the same only reason. Always fetch only the required columns. Always fetch only the required columns. Only columns which are necessary for us. Then column fetching sequence needs to be same as that of the data dictionary sequence. Column fetching sequence needs to be same as that of the data dictionary sequence. Is this thing clear?
Mhm.
Also, in where condition we have passed only one column till now, right? But you can pass multiple column also. If you want to compare multiple columns in where condition, there you
Mhm.
can also pass. So in where condition, column sequence needs to be same as that of the data dictionary sequence. These are some performance guidelines. Then never ever use the corresponding query. Remember corresponding query? Or I have not
Mm,
showed.
I don't remember this.
Okay, let me just go to the program and let's check. So let me just check. It has been logged out. Okay, I will have to reopen it. Get Z, yeah, entries. Do any? No. Okay. Let me open this one. This is something which will come in the upcoming session, but we are just going to see. See here. This is a query, right? This is a query. So what
Mm-hmm.
this the concept of for all in sorry corresponding is, let's say you have not defined the structure. See what is happening here. You are bringing these four columns, right? You are bringing these four columns and then you are storing them into LT employee. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then let us see. I am just writing here. Let's say after department, I am writing here project name type ZAR project name. Now just think about it. I have created a structure, this one, and I am writing this query. What is going to happen? No error, right? There is no error. But what will happen now? Now I have a project name here in the structure just before the manager column. I have a project name. And so what is going to happen when I'm bringing these four columns and storing into the same internal table?
The name of the
So
manager will be taken over for the project name.
the manager data will be stored inside the project name column.
Mm-hmm.
Is it right? So let's check. I will put here a debugger. I'll put here a debugger. I will go to desktop 3, and in this LT employee, what is going to happen? Just see. So sometime if you are defining a structure, let's say if you are defining a structure, or let's say if you have not defined a structure, here you are directly passing in the type, you have directly passed the table name, my table name. I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to work? Yes, it
Yeah.
will work. Yes, by default it will work. But the problem here is it is also going to take the MANDT field now.
Mm-hmm.
MANDT field will also come, which is not of our used. And when you are going to define in the type table of your, if you are using your table directly, the problem here is its efficiency is very low compared to its your structure. That is why we usually define a structure. So the concept of this uh, corresponding is here, in instead of into you can use into corresponding fields of table LT employee. Now what is going to happen? These four columns will be only stored into their respective columns, It doesn't matter what is the structure.
So in this case, then the names of the columns will have to be the same for
Just
the
see,
structure and the
let's
table,
see,
right?
let's see it is happening or not. I have not used for a very long time. Let me just check. If I'll go, yes, just see here.
Mm-hmm.
Now you will be thinking how it is doing, right? How it is actually doing. So it is matching the name of from the field name from the table. It is matching the field name from the table. Field name from the table. If and for that particular field name, it is actually storing in the same way. Now it is matching the field name. Is this a field name in my employee table? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Employee name, department, and manager. So it is only storing the corresponding. So earlier it was used corresponding fields of table, but then there is a limitation of it, because now see, You are bringing how your compiler is actually going. First it went for employee ID, name, department and manager. Now when it started to store the data, it found a lot of columns here, right? Lots of columns are there. So stored here, 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 and then it skipped this one. So it is taking some time, right? The amount of time that it is taking to skip this one, which is a performance problem. That is why it is never suggested to use corresponding. Otherwise it is easy. See, there are hundreds of ways to do the same task, hundreds of ways to do the same task, but it is the duty of the developer to understand which is more beneficial for them, which is more beneficial and useful for them. Okay.
Mhm.
So into table lt employee, and let's remove this project. It is also not suggested to use the corresponding query. So never use the corresponding query. Never use the corresponding in the select query. Never ever use it. Okay, just give me 1 minute. I have a call.
Mhm.
Yeah. So never use the corresponding in the select query. Okay.
Mhm.
Then we have fifth one for traditional databases. Traditional databases, please avoid to use joins. Instead, always go for all entries. Always go for all entries. Always go for all entries in. Perfect.
What are traditional database?
Everything
What
has
is
been explained. Just watch the recording. I told you, just
okay?
watch the recording. So now let's give me just 2 minutes on that. See, we are using HANA database. Okay. Earlier we
Mhm.
have ECC system. Still ECC system is used, but we are now using S4HANA. So let's talk about S4HANA. ECC system, we already earlier we have ECC system. So in ECC, what databases you were using? MySQL, Oracle, MS SQL, Sybase kind of databases, right?
Mhm.
All of these databases are known as traditional database, and HANA is the most effective database for real-time data processing. In the HANA you can use join. Why you cannot use it, I have explained it in detail. Okay, if you will watch the session, this thing will be clear.
Okay. Okay. No problem.
Then 6, for fetching the records from the foreign key table, foreign key table or dependent tables, always check for psi sub rc condition, sub rc condition, or internal table not initial condition. Both. Either you can check the internal table not initial, or you can check for psi sub rc. In the for all entries I have used the if not initial, right? I have used that if not initial before fetching the records from the item table. So either you can go for size RC or you can go for this one. Then use binary search, right? Binary search instead of linear searching in the read table. Then we have use parallel cursor for the nested loops. Always use parallel cursor for the nested loop. Where we have used nested loop, Mukul? Where we have used?
In the for all entries.
Yes. So now there the problem is in the for all entry there is a problem. The problem is when we are using loop within a loop, then the just imagine if we have 10,000 data in the header, right? And let's say 1 million data in the item. How many times your loop is going to execute? 10,000 into 1 million, right? This is the time it will take for nested loops. Is this a good approach? Is this a good
No,
approach to use directly nested loop concept? So
no.
nested loop is never directly suggested. Instead of that, what you can do is you can use parallel cursor. If you are forced to use, see, two things are there. I have explained how we can use read table instead of nested loop there also. So one thing is read table, but if you have some duplicate data in the header also, there can be possible that some custom table is there where they have given multiple primary keys, right? So there you will face the situation of duplicate data and you will be forced to use the nested loop. So in that situation what you can do is instead of directly going for nested loop, you can implement the concept of parallel cursor inside the nested loop. It is a very important thing, we will see it. Okay, then never ever use select query inside the loop. It is also not suggested. Instead try to use read statement. Select, always try to write your select query outside of the loop, it will be more better. So instead try to use a read statement to get the data. To get the data always try to use read statement. Perfect. Then for these all are very important for interview also and for development also. How you can better, how you can increase the goodness or betterment of your code, right? So for multiple condition always use case conditional statements statements instead of if conditional statement. Okay, if conditional statement, always use case conditional statements instead of if conditional statement. Then at last, depending upon the requirement, on the requirement, we will create the secondary indexes to improve the performance. Okay, depending upon the requirement, we will create the secondary indexes. Do you remember index?
Yes.
So instead of that, we can use indexes, we can create based on the requirement. These are 11 important things, in 11 important best programming guidelines you can use for being a app developer. Perfect. So now let's see how we can implement parallel cursor. 5 to 6 steps are there, we are just required to follow the steps. Okay, we are just required to follow the steps. So parallel cursor. So why it is used? So when we have multiple records, in case of our header table, then read operation will not work effectively. Read operation will not work effectively, as we will not be able to fetch all the records or fetch all the records from the header, as read statement only and only returns the first matching data, right? It only returns the first matching data. So if you are using read operation inside your loop, it will only return the first matching data from your header internal table. So you will not be able to get the second data or third data if you have duplicate data there also. Right?
Mhm.
So in this situation, we will be forced to use loop within a loop, right? Which is
Mhm.
nested loop. We will be forced to use. So to increase the efficiency, we can or we will implement the concept of parallel cursor, so that my inner loop should only execute for the matching or corresponding data of the outer loop, right? This is how we are writing our for all entries, right? We are bringing the matching data one by one from our item table based on the data that is present in the header table. This is what we are doing.
Mhm.
This is what we are doing now. So we will limit the performance of our inner loop, that instead of executing for all the records, it will only go for the corresponding records which are there in our header data. Only go for corresponding records which are there in our header data. Is this thing clear?
Yeah.
It's a very complex concept. Usually it is never taught in training, okay? But once I have found it, I thought I should share with everyone, right?
Mhm.
Then always use parallel cursor when you are using nested loop. Okay, let's see. Let's take a requirement to display our employee and project details data together in a final internal table, and we are going to use for all entries to bring the data, right? So parallel cursor create parallel cursor. In the type, I will go for execute. I will select package into here. Now here, what we are about to do, we'll create our structure, right? First, so
Mhm.
let's bring our structure here. From here, I will bring my employee. This is my employee. Then I will go for project details. So types begin of TY underscore project employee ID type employee ID project ID type project ID project name type project name and of TY project. Then we had created our final, right? Same steps. So begin of TY underscore final. There we will use all our columns from here and from item also. So columns from header, then from the rest of the columns from item, and of TY final. Pretty printer, syntax check, activate. Then we will create our internal tables. So LT employee type table of TY underscore employee, then ls employee type TY employee LT project type table of TY underscore project, then ls project type TY underscore project, then LT final. Is there any confusion?
No.
That's good. So final ls final type TY underscore final. Then we need select option. So I'll create a variable first. LV employee ID type employee ID select options. So as employee ID for LV employee ID. Go for it. Pretty printer. Syntax check. Activate. Then for my S employee ID, let's give a name. Go to text elements. In the selection text, I will give a range for employee ID. Activate. Then we were writing our queries, right? So select employee ID, employee name, department, manager, from table name, which is employee tab, into table LT employee, here employee ID in as employee ID. I will check for if not initial condition. This is again one of the best programming practices, right? If LT employee is not initial, then I will bring the data from my item table also. So select employee ID, project ID, project name from table, which is project details. I believe this is the table. Yes, perfect. So project details into table LT underscore project for all entries in LT employee where employee ID in as employee ID. Perfect, right?
Hmm?
For all in the where condition, oh sorry, no, it will not be in, it will be equal to, it will be equal to LT employee hyphen employee ID. Yeah, now it's fine. Activate it. Now we have to store data in our final. So what we did, we directly implemented loop within a loop concept, right? This is
Mhm.
what we did in the previous session. We went for loop at lt employee into ls employee and loop. Then inside we used loop at lt project into ls project where employee id is equal to ls employee id. This is what we did, right? In it we stored final data. Let's just store it first, then I will show you how we are going to change it inside the parallel cursor. So first I will store my data. So how I stored the data? I stored ls final employee id is equal to ls employee id, right? Then we stored ls final employee name is equal to ls final employee name, then ls final department is equal to ls employee, oh sorry, here not date, will be employee. Where is your concentration? So ls employee department, ls final manager is equal to ls employee manager, or rest of will be from project, right? So ls
Mhm.
final project id is equal to ls project id, then ls final project name is equal to ls project name. At last we were appending, right? So append ls final to lt final and clear the work area.
Mhm.
Clear the work area. I will have my data. I will be able to display it now. Let's first display it and check it. If it is working fine, then we will see how what changes it needs. So ls final loop at lt final to ls final and loop, and we will write our data. So write ls final hyphen employee id, ls final hyphen employee name, ls final hyphen department, ls final hyphen manager, ls final hyphen project id, and ls final hyphen project name. Check for syntax. There is some issue.
Yeah.
Oh sorry, it will be into, not to. Let's execute it. I'll give you an entry 101 105. Execute. Right, we are able to see all our data now, but this is not a good approach. if you are directly writing this code and you will show it to your manager or you will show it to your client, whoever is your technical evaluator, he will never accept this code. He will never, nobody is going to accept loop within a loop directly. Instead, we are forced to follow five steps. Five steps. So let's see here. Step one. Sort the item internal table first. Just see how we are changing it. Sort the item internal table. So what I will do first, I will comment this. I will write here same thing. And I will comment this whole thing out. I will simply comment this whole thing out. Now just see how we are changing it. First we need to sort our item internal table. So sort LT project by employee ID, right? We will sort it by employee ID. Okay. Then we have the second step, step 2. Step 2 is just before the inner loop, just before the inner loop, we will use the read statement to fetch the matching data, matching item data, data using binary search. Okay. First, we will bring the matching data from item using binary swap. So this is my inner loop. Just before it, I will use inner loop. So read table LT project. I will write a read statement on my inner loop, inner internal table. Sorry, item internal table. So into ls project with key employee ID is equal to ls employee hyphen employee ID, and then binary search, right? Binary search is mandatory here. Now if this read operation is true, if this read operation is true, so if this read operation is true, we will store the site tabix value in a variable. What is site tabix?
Index number of the table,
Which table?
the table which is
No, 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 no,
being
no, no,
run
no,
at
no,
that
no,
time.
no, 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 no. Do you remember two system variable, sci index and sci tabix? Sci index was there for two loops, do loop and while loop. There we were able to check the index number or iteration number. And I told you at that the same time that site tabix will be only used in case of loop within an internal table. Is this a loop within an internal table? Yes, it's a loop at internal table. Here we can use a concept of site tabix, it works. So what we will do, we will store the site tabix value in a variable. So define a variable here, data, just define a variable lv index, any variable. I will give its type as integer, and I am going to store the site tabix value in it. So lv index is equal to sci tabix, or first, always after read operation, always go for sci sub rc check, right? Right. Only five steps are there. Follow it and your job is done. So lv index is equal to sci tabix, site tabix. lv index is equal to site tabix. You will get the current iteration number into this. This is your second. Now rather than going for where condition in this inner loop, what we will do, we will go for condition on inner loop. We will go for condition on LV index. Here we will execute our inner loop for this variable now. So this will be your next step, or step 3. Step 3, no, sorry, not this one. Yeah, step 3. So rather than going directly on where condition in the inner loop, now we will only execute our inner loop, for the matching iteration of our LV index variable, where we have stored the site tab current iteration number of our outer loop. Okay, so directly you can remove here where condition, and you can write from LV index. Any doubt?
Mm,
A little bit complex it is, I know. You are seeing it for the first time.
yeah, this is not very clear. From LV index.
Yes, from LV index. This LV index, see what it is going to do. It will only store, if there is some data here, then it will only going to execute. If there is some data, then it is only going to execute. You can check this thing in the debugging mode. It will be more clear. We can check it. Okay. This much step is more than sufficient here. This much step is more than sufficient, but also you can write one more statement here. You can also check. So step 4 is there. We can also give one more check here inside our inner loop. Inside our inner loop, we can check for the matching data between header and item. So we can check it for the matching data between header and item. If it is working, then and only then we will go for the inner loop. Otherwise we can simply exit it. So if ls employee, which is my outer loop, if its employee id not equal to, this is not equal to sign here, you can use any also, not equal to.
Mhm.
So not equal to ls project project employee id. If it is not equal to, then there is no meaning of executing this inner loop. Okay. Or
Mhm.
if it is equal to, then inside our else condition we will directly store our data. We are simply limiting the iteration number. Now in the else condition, you can directly write your storing part. It is not that difficult. It is just a way defined by some developer. Since I know it, I just wanted to show you. Okay.
Mhm.
So see what is going to happen. Now let's check it. I will put a debugger and I will show the beauty of this code. First, let's check the output if it is working or not. Yes, we are able to see the data, right? We are able to see the data. Now let's go and check it. So I will put here a debugger on the outer loop. I will put here a debugger. I will go for execute button. I will give here an entry 105 and I will go for execute. Desktop 3. So now think about it. How many data we have? LT employee 5, right? We have got 5 data. If you go for LT project, how many data is there? 3 columns, right? 3 columns and 15 data. Now just see here. First my read table operation will work. So I'll go for F6, read operation. What is the side tab x value? 1. We are
Mhm.
for first iteration inside the loop. Now just see, it is LV, its value will be stored in LV index. LV index value is 1. Now this loop is going to execute for this. Loop will execute for one time. So it will first check. Again, we have given another if condition, right? We have given another if condition. So if this is matching, then and only go for else. Otherwise, we can exit. This is just a step defined by a developer. You can develop your own step. Nobody is going to question you that. Nobody is going to question you that. Okay. 4 steps. Check the read. If its value is true. Now instead of directly matching it with this thing which we are using earlier, instead we will go for LV index variable. And again inside the loop we will check for one more condition. If it is working, then and only then, because you cannot, this is simply removing all the edge cases. Okay, all the edge cases that are there. You might face certain edge case which I am not able to show here,
Mhm.
right? We can have millions of data now, but we only have 15 and 5 records. So certain edge cases are still left behind. So this is simply taking all the edge cases. Very, very important. Only 4 steps are there, right? Only 4 steps. If you will take this one also, then it will become the 5 step. If you will take this one also, but only main 4 steps are there. Just check for use a binary search on your item table, store its value, then loop for that value, and then in it check if there is any matching data. If there is the matching data, go for it. Otherwise, exit from this inner loop and go for the next iteration of outer loop. Okay, fine.
Yeah, but this exactly what's happening from LV index, I'm not understanding. Because, for example, if we are at employee 101 and if we loop through it, I think it will loop 3 or 4 times through the LT project, right? The LV index 1.
Yeah, it will only go for 3 times now. Only 3 times. See, only go for 3 times. Second has been done. It is now going for third. Third time it
Mhm.
went. Went for third time. Now when it will come for the fourth one, just see, when it will come for the fourth one, here it will check. You cannot directly write this way na loop at LT project into LS project. It will become completely meaningless. So there is just, first we are checking the matching data. If there is no matching data, then why we are coming here? There is no need to even check this condition, right? So
But
it is, this from is there, that if there is certain value, if there is certain value, that is why some value is getting stored here na. If this read operation will be true, then and only then certain value will be stored here. Otherwise no value will be stored. So if there is no value, by default its value is original 0 that has been given. So this loop will not execute, this outer loop will not execute. It will not go for that, it will directly go for next iteration. Just see, 3 iteration has been done. Now when I'm going in it, exit, so it will went for the next out and LT employee again. Now your site tab x value is still 1 for your outer loop. So it will check again, its value is now 4 because 3 iteration has been done here. So it's the reason we are writing this thing only, so that if this is getting executed, then and only then we should
Mhm.
go for this one. Otherwise there is no need to go for that, right?
Okay,
Why my
okay, no, I was
compiler
just
should, yes, why my compiler should waste my time on that?
so this from LV underscore index in the loop statement, it checks if the LV index has a value or what does it do? From